Ladies and gentlemen, we have a Q&A with the professor of stand-up comedy technique, Greg Dean.
Hey.
Our next question, we have Andy. Andy has English as a second language, and he has read your book. He has your book, but he's not.
You're the one that did that. Was wondering who read my book.
He's not clear on how you explain connectors. How does he find connectors in his material?
Wow. Okay. So that is probably the premium question anybody can ask from my point of view. Okay, for those that don't know, remember the 5 mechanisms that I said were between setup and punch? Okay. At the center of all jokes is what I call a connector. It's one thing with 2 interpretations or meanings, okay? So that is at the center of all jokes that have ever been written or ever will be written. It's not just me, I recognize that, but I also took my work to the International Society of Humor Studies, which is 5,000 PhDs all over the world, and I show up and they were very kind. They say, you haven't added anything new to humor theory because you've described a joke perfectly as well. We've already got, but they had a different model. Problem with their models is they can't teach people to write jokes from them. So the idea is you've always got to find that, and it takes a lot of imagination. Your mind has to start sorting through a whole bunch of other things to find that thing that goes in between the jokes. I had a guy one time, just to give you some examples, he lost his glass business, big glass business with corporations for big buildings. And he was coming in doing material about Chapter 11, going bankrupt, and he'd go, Chapter 11. It's a setup with Chapter 11. Finally, I said, okay, Chapter 11 is the negative part. Jokes go in 2 ways, positive, good to bad, bad to worse. So you're putting the bad thing at the top. Go back, look at it, and start writing another joke about something that's about good in some way, which is what the joke prospector does. Makes you look at the setups. Oh, so I have some opposites going on. He came back the next week with the joke, I'm entering a whole new chapter of my life. Chapter 11. Boom, it hits. I had a guy recently in the class wanted to talk about in school. He just left. He's a young guy, and he's going, hey, yeah, all the girls now that after a couple of years, and I run into them after high school, and they're all fat. They're all gaining weight. I'm freaked out about it. Well, that was his thought. Okay. And so you got to find that connector. What's the connector? So again, you got to go through these thoughts. You got to think about the whole world of it. It's not an easy thing to do, but he came back the next week and brought up the same idea and said, hey, I saw these girls and they seem to have gone from prom queen to Dairy Queen. Boom, he found his connector. Now, connectors are not always words. Now we get into some deeper things that you have to spend some time studying with me for a while to understand, but connectors are really about who connectors, who, what, when, where, why, how, and which. Those are the things. Who do we look at in 2 different ways? A location that we look at 2 different ways. A location, the Anthony Jeselnik joke, who's one of my students. That's why his jokes are so good. The joke about my neighbors hate my brother. The other day, I caught him masturbating, and I opened the door, and he was masturbating, and he said, "Shut the door." And Anthony goes, and I said, "Get inside." Okay, so that joke, the connector is a location. That's the connector. Where was he at when he was masturbating? We thought he was in his bedroom. He opened the door, caught him masturbating. Oh, it's his bedroom. That's the location. No, he was opening up the front door, saw him out on the lawn. That's why the neighbors hate him. It was a location. So that's the hard thing with all comedians are sitting around finding that connection between them. Now that you know this, watch Bill Maher, watch The Daily Show,
Right.
you're going to start seeing how these jokes have found this connection between in politics between this and that. Okay. And how do you do it? Practice. You just practice for years and years and years, and then follow my guidelines for learning how to write short setups and short punchlines so the joke is nice and clean and crisp.